The sun rose over the Pride Lands, painting the horizon gold and blood-red, a reminder that even beauty can be edged with danger. Two kings stood on opposite sides of the vast plain, their manes rippling in the wind, eyes locked across the distance. The air trembled with tension, thick with anticipation, as every creature in the kingdom seemed to sense the storm about to erupt. This was no ordinary conflict. This was a war that would decide the fate of the circle of life itself. One king bore the marks of wisdom, a mane streaked with silver and battle scars that spoke of years defending his pride with honor. His movements were deliberate, measured, born from experience and a deep understanding of the land. The other king radiated fire, his mane dark and untamed, eyes flashing with hunger and ambition. Power and pride coursed through him like molten lava. He believed that strength alone determined destiny. The Pride Lands had already felt the tremors of this rivalry. Rivers ran low as hunting territories overlapped, prey scattered in fear, and the grass whispered stories of looming conflict. Creatures small and large paused in their daily routines, knowing that the balance of their world was about to be tested. Cubs huddled beside their mothers, elders lifted their heads with worry, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The first clash was more than physical, it was symbolic. Each king represented a vision for the land. The seasoned king fought for harmony, for the preservation of the circle of life, for every creature that relied on the balance he had protected for years. The ambitious king fought for dominance, to rewrite destiny under his own rules, to bend the world to his will. Their struggle was not just about a throne, it was about ideology, legacy, and survival. Dust erupted into the air as they charged, claws sank into the earth, echoing with the force of their fury. Roars collided like thunderclaps, reverberating across the plains, shaking leaves from trees and sending flocks of birds into frantic flight. Lions and allies on both sides surged forward, joining the chaos, their loyalty tested in real time. Fangs flashed, muscles tensed. Every moment teetered between triumph and catastrophe. The first king moved with a precision that spoke of countless battles. He anticipated strikes before they came, turning momentum against his opponent, defending his allies with swift, calculated maneuvers. His roar was not just a sound, it was authority, courage, and conviction condensed into a single pulse that stirred the land itself. The second king attacked with reckless force, each motion brimming with raw power. His strikes were unpredictable, wild, and terrifying. Yet, behind the aggression lay cunning, a mind that sought weakness in every stance, hesitation in every step. He was fire, and fire could destroy everything, but it could also be extinguished if contained. As the kings collided in the center of the battlefield, the earth shook beneath them. Their claws scraped stone, their fangs snapped inches apart. A melody, and the air vibrated with the intensity of their struggle. Around them, allies paused, watching as the two forces that would decide the Pride Land's fate fought not just for victory, but for the essence of leadership itself. The first king's strategy was patience. He knew that force alone could not secure lasting rule. Every movement was deliberate, every strike measured. He protected his pride, keeping them out of harm's way while wearing down his rival. In his eyes burned the memory of those who had come before, leaders who failed by letting anger guide their claws instead of wisdom. The rival king relied on chaos, on intimidation, on sheer ferocity. He struck with everything he had, hoping to end the fight quickly, to overpower the principles that had guided the first king's reign. He roared with such intensity that the plains seemed to quake. Yet beneath his fury, a flicker of doubt stirred. Strength could not compensate for the wisdom that shaped experience. The battle raged across the open plains, through dense grasses and rocky ridges. Lions fell on both sides, injured but unbroken. Driven by loyalty, fear, and hope. Dust mixed with blood, creating a haze that blurred the line between friend and foe. Every step forward demanded courage, every fall tested resilience. This was a war where mistakes were fatal, and hesitation could mean the end of the circle of life. At one point, the rival king cornered the first king near a steep cliff that overlooked the river below. His eyes burned with ambition, teeth bared, muscles coiled for a final strike. He believed this would be the moment destiny bowed to him. But the first king did not flinch. He met the gaze with calm, unwavering focus, aware that a single misstep could destroy not only himself, but the pride he had sworn to protect. Their clash atop the cliff was monumental. Claws scratched stone, sending small avalanches down the edge. Roars tore through the air, louder than the river's roar below. The rival king lunged with everything he had. The first king's movements were a dance of precision, turning each attack against its source. With a sudden shift, the first king countered, forcing his rival to stumble, clawing at the ground to regain footing. Below, the pride watched, hearts pounding. Cubs pressed against their mothers, elders lowered heads in worry, and even the smallest creatures felt the tension ripple through the plains. This was more than a fight. It was a lesson etched into every observer, that leadership is tested in moments when the world demands choice and courage. The rival king recovered quickly, fury blazing. He struck again, faster, more brutally. The first king dodged, parried, and forced him back step by step. Strike was met with resistance. Each roar answered with a counter that spoke of experience and resilience. The fight was no longer just physical. It was mental, strategic, and emotional. Suddenly, the rival king's claw caught the edge of the cliff, slipping slightly. For a heartbeat, everything hung in suspense. The first king could end it. One decisive move, and the throne would be his. The battle won, the circle of life preserved. But he paused. In that moment, he remembered the core of his purpose: to protect, not destroy. To lead, not conquer through fear. The rival king's roar faltered. For the first time, his eyes showed something other than a... Thor's king advanced slowly, deliberately, showing strength tempered by restraint. The pride below held their breath. Every creature understood that the fate of the land rested on the next moments. The rival king lunged one final time, teeth snapping, claws extended. The first king met him head-on, deflecting the attack with perfect timing, sending him sliding toward the edge of the cliff. The ground cracked beneath the rival king's paws, and he teetered, caught between fall and fight. He roared, a sound filled with desperation, rage, and the echo of lessons not learned. Then, the first king stepped back. He did not strike. He did not push. He allowed the rival king to recover, to choose his own path. Knowing that leadership is proven not in how one wins, but in how one shapes destiny for the better. The rival king staggered to his feet, lowered his head, and for the first time, accepted that force alone could not claim the circle of life. Around the battlefield, silence fell. The fighting paused. Dust settled. The land exhaled as if recognizing the choice that had been made. Fear. The pride began to stir, awe and relief spreading through every lion, cub, and elder. The battle was over not through destruction, but through wisdom and restraint. The first king walked among his pride, tending to the wounded, reassuring the fearful, and honoring those who had fought bravely on both sides. He did not roar in triumph. He simply stood among them, a living symbol that true power is earned through protection, not fear. The rival king retreated to the borders of the Pride Lands. He had lost the war, but he had gained understanding. He would return, perhaps not as an enemy, but as a reminder of what could happen when ambition blinds judgment. And so, the Pride Lands began to heal. Rivers flowed freely again, grass grew tall. Prey returned to their routines, and the circle of life resumed its rhythm. Cubs learned that courage and restraint are the foundations of leadership. The elders whispered stories of 2 kings, 1 throne, and 1 war that taught the land a lesson it would never forget. The first king often returned to the cliff where the final clash took place, gazing over the plains, reflecting on the choices made and the path ahead. He understood that leadership was not static. It required constant vigilance, courage, and humility. As night fell, the stars shone over the Pride Lands. The wind carried stories of the battle, not tales of blood alone, but of wisdom, balance, and destiny. The roar of the first king echoed across the plains, not as a warning, but as a promise that the circle of life would endure. And that true kingship is measured not by victory, but by the protection and guidance of all who call the land home. The night after the battle felt heavier than any roar that had shaken the Pride Lands. Stars burned bright above, watching silently as the land rested in uneasy calm. Though the clash had ended, its echoes still lived in every breath of wind and every shadow stretching across the plains. 2 kings had stood for 1 throne. And now the consequences of that war would shape the future long after claws had stopped striking flesh. The first king remained awake, while others slept. He walked alone through the tall grass, listening to the quiet return of life. Insects chirped softly, and somewhere far away, a lioness called to her cub. Small sounds reminded him why the war had mattered. Victory had not been about proving strength. It had been about preserving these fragile moments that made the Pride Lands whole. Across the borders, the rival king watched the same stars from exile. His body ached, but his pride hurt more. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of failure without the shield of rage. The throne he desired had not been taken by force, and the realization unsettled him. He replayed the final moments again and again. Not the fall, but the mercy shown to him. That mercy haunted him more deeply than defeat ever could. As dawn approached, the Pride Lands slowly awakened. Sun rose gently, its light spilling over the battlefield scars, revealing broken earth and scattered stones. Yet among the damage, new life stirred. Birds returned cautiously, landing where silence once ruled. The land had survived the war, and now it waited to see if it would truly heal. The first king gathered his pride at sunrise. He stood before them without dramatic gestures, without a roar of triumph. His voice was steady, carrying across the open ground. He spoke of the war, not as a victory to celebrate, but as a lesson to remember. He reminded them that the circle of life was not a prize to be owned, but a responsibility to be protected. Each lion listened, understanding that leadership did not end when battle ended. Young lions stepped forward, their eyes filled with questions. They had seen courage and fear, strength and loss, all in a single day. The king answered them patiently, teaching that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act with purpose despite it. These lessons would shape them far more than tales of glory ever could. Meanwhile, the rival king began his journey away from the Pride Lands. Each step felt heavier than the last. He passed through lands that once would have bowed before him, now indifferent to his presence. Hunger followed him, not just for food, but for meaning. He began to understand that power taken without balance leaves nothing but emptiness behind. As days passed, the Pride Lands transformed. Grass grew where blood had dried. Water returned to shallow streams. Prey moved freely once more, sensing that the danger had passed. The first king watched these changes with quiet gratitude, knowing that healing was not instant, but it was possible. He also watched his pride closely. Some lions carried visible wounds, others hidden ones. He encouraged rest, unity, and patience. He reminded them that war leaves scars on the spirit as well as the body, and both needed care, too. In this, his leadership deepened, becoming less about command and more about guidance. One evening, as the sun dipped low, a familiar silhouette appeared at the edge of the Pride Lands. The rival king had returned. He approached slowly, cautiously, without aggression. The Pride tensed, ready to defend their king. But the first king raised his head calmly, signaling them to hold rifle. The rival king stopped at a respectful distance. His posture was different now. His roar did not come. Instead, he lowered his head. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. When he finally spoke, his voice lacked arrogance. He admitted his failure, not just in battle, but in understanding what it meant to lead. He acknowledged the harm his ambition had caused. The first king listened without interruption. He did not interrupt, did not accuse. When the rival king finished, the first king responded simply. He spoke of choice, of the chance to change, of the circle of life allowing balance to be restored when lessons are learned. He did not offer the throne. He did not offer forgiveness lightly. He offered responsibility. The rival king accepted exile beyond the Pride Lands, not as punishment, but as reflection. He vowed to protect balance where he walked, even if he would never rule. With that, he turned away, his departure quieter than his arrival, leaving behind a sense of closure the land seemed to recognize. Seasons changed. Cubs grew stronger. Elders passed down stories of the war, not glorifying violence, but honoring wisdom. The tale of two kings and one throne became a reminder carved into memory, teaching that destiny is not decided by birth or brute force alone, but by the choices made when power is within reach. The first king grew older, his mane touched by time, but his presence remained steady. He continued to walk among his pride, never above them, always with them. See, listen to the land, to the winds, to the needs of every creature that depended on his protection. On quiet nights, he would stand upon the high rock and look out across the Pride Lands, remembering the war that nearly tore it apart. He did not regret the battle, for it had revealed truth. It had shown that a throne is not something to be taken, but something to be carried. Far beyond the Pride Lands, the rival king found his own form of peace. He became a guardian of distant territories, protecting without ruling, learning humility through service. Though history would remember him as a challenger, the land would remember him as a lesson. Years later, when the first king's roar echoed across the plains for the last time, it was not a sound of sorrow, but of completion. His legacy lived on in the balance he restored and the pride he guided. A new king would rise, shaped by the lessons of the past, carrying forward the truth learned through war. And so the circle of life continued unbroken. Two kings had stood for one throne. One war had tested the soul of the land. In the end, destiny was not decided by who struck harder, but by who understood what the throne was truly for.